MorristownGreen.com.
Okay, welcome back everybody to the second half of WordPlay III. And let's just hear it for the nice people that made all that great food for us here at the church. And I'd also like you to give it up for our great sound guy here tonight, Peter Moffat. And our Iron Man behind the camera, Mr. Ben Cutler. Okay, another quotable quote for you to get us going here. If you have to ask what it symbolizes, it didn't. I'm very pleased to welcome back to our stage a very talented monologue person. Kristin Ace is going to come up for us, and in addition to being the mom of the very talented Miranda Bramer, she's also a very fine actress in her own right. She stars in her own one-woman shows that are quite inspirational. The last one was called You Can Get There From Here. And she's so good that she was recently in a competition for NPR's The Moth. I don't know if you've ever heard The Moth, but it's a wonderful show. And she did quite well, and any day now I'm sure that we'll be hearing her on The Moth. So please give a warm welcome to Kristin Ace.
Kevin, can I move this? Hi, this is the piece that that won me onto the Grand Slam at The Moth. It's 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm in bed, awake, because I am 10,000 years pregnant with my second child, and the sheer mass of this child inside of me makes anything that looks remotely like sleep impossible. Seriously, I am so hugentic, I look like an alien, and I'm wondering how I am going to make it to my due date, which at this point is actually only 4 days away, but my only experience with childbirth is my first child, who was 2.5 weeks late, 23 hours in labor, and 2.5 hours of pushing to bring into the world. So, as I am laying in my alien state, bathed in sweat because it's July, it's 400 degrees out in New Jersey, and we have no air conditioning, I am contemplating the horror of my upcoming future when I hear a little pop. I know what that is. That pop sound is my water breaking. So I start to slide my alien body off the bed when I am slammed to the ground with a contraction so deep that my alien body feels like it is literally splitting in two. I lean over my shoulder and scream to my husband, "Jeff, call the doctor! The baby, she's coming now! Okay, honey, I'm gonna get myself downstairs." And what that means is that I have to get up and scamper for 30 seconds and then fall down with a contraction. Get up, scamper, fall down. Get up, scamper, down. And in between all of that, I have to change my clothes because every time I get up, my water gushes everywhere and I'm soaked. So that means I get up, scamper for 30 seconds and scream, "Get me some new clothes!" And then I fall down with a contraction and scream, "Make sure they give me the epidural." Get up, scamper, new clothes, fall down, contraction, epidural, up, scamper, clothes, down, contraction, epidural. Well, this is exhausting. And then I have an idea. Honey, get me the purple dress. Because you see, the purple dress is light and flowy and it doesn't touch my body everywhere. So I make it to the hospital soaked on the bottom, but I will be dry on top. So somehow I get downstairs. The hospital is 3 blocks away, but I don't think that I'm gonna make it. And Jeff gets me into the car and gets me to the hospital. And as we drive up, we drive to the emergency room, and he drives right past the emergency room door because he has to get a parking place. Let me out! I opened the door while he was driving and tumbled out. I almost killed him. And I could have at this point because I was no longer human. I was no longer even the alien. I was a wild animal. I got into the emergency room and I was greeted by Miss Perky Nose. Oh, it must be your time. It is my time. Give me the epidural. Oh, honey, we gotta check you. Whatever. They throw me in the first room they can find. She does the exam and says, oh, honey, there's no time for an epidural. You're 9.5 centimeters. That baby's coming now. What? Jeff comes running into the room, and behind him is the OB, and behind her is the doula, who immediately runs to my side and begins coaching me, telling me that any position that I want to be in is just fine. So I'm pushing, but nothing is happening. And the doula is going, you're doing great. You're doing great. Keep breathing, stop talking to me, stop talking to me. Well, that doula stopped talking to me. I looked at Jeff. Honey! He looked at the OB and she took over. Jeff, flip her and grab a leg. You, grab the other leg. Kristin, push! I pushed 3 times and out came Miranda. And that whole thing happened from start to finish in an hour and a half. Thank you.
Kristin Ace. I feel like at the end of that one, we should have had Miranda come out of here. That segues very nicely into a poem that someone wrote during the intermission up on the wall. Quote, I am a wobbly mother. Did I get the inflection right? Our next poet is a senior at Morristown High School, Madelyn Montes. She's only recently started to write poetry, but she participated recently at Drew University's Art of Respect event, and she'll be reading an original poem for us here tonight. Please welcome Madelyn Montes.
Hello. Tonight, I will be performing a poem titled Father. This poem is very, very personal, and it's obviously about my life. Yeah. And this poem is a transition from when I learned about the history between my father and my mother, and it went from frustration and just anger to an acceptance and forgiving of myself and him as well. So here it goes. For 7 years, I felt fatherless. And for 7 more, I felt loathed, lonely, and rotten to think that someone like you would say no to someone like me, no to my life, no to my existence. Now, 17 years later, I say, thank you. Thank you for teaching me what failure looks like so that I will never fall for it. Thank you for teaching me that I will not always be welcome. Thank you for teaching me to persevere, to push on when no one wants you to succeed. So Father, thank you. Your absence has been my life lesson. Yes, you played a part in the creation of my life, but you never once stayed by my side. So Father, that meaningless label I place on you, don't waste my time. For I have left the past and you behind. There is nothing but ambition and dedication in my heart. I might have been that anchor that kept your boat from navigating and exploring the beauty of the world, but I was that anchor that kept my mothers from floating away in the sea of confusion and depression. I am not saying that I am perfect, but I am saying that yes, Father, I was definitely worth it. Thank you.
Madelyn Montes. Very nice. Thank you, Madelyn. Another quick shout out. We also enjoyed some great coffee from Smart World, so our thanks to Dave over at Smart World for that. Now, next up, this is going to be really interesting. Ginny Pados sent me an email describing herself this way. I am short, round, and middle-aged, and I've done my share of community and children's theater. I'm ready to put it on the line. And she couldn't decide whether to share with us one of her most embarrassing moments or do some true stand-up. So which will it be? Let's find out. Ginny Pados.
I'm all the way in the back. So you have to watch me go all the way up here. Not elegantly, though. There we go.
Shy. Do you think I'm shy? That's the one thing I can say pretty easily about me. Hi, everybody. I normally perform, but I don't do stand-up, and I really wanted to try. So here's the thing. You play along with me, we'll just chat a little bit for my 5 minutes time, which you have your hockey stick right nearby, which is appropriate because I'm from Buffalo, outside of Buffalo, Amherst, New York. Yeah, are you too? I have to tell you, it's free form. So if we don't work, I have a wonderful poem to read, just in case. I'm a wanderer, so I gotta try to stay put for Mr. Ben, cameraman. Hi, Ben. You should turn it on you so you could see you on film too. So being from Buffalo, we have no clue, absolutely no clue that we aren't Canadian. That's part of it. It's a different world from here, and especially from New York City, and I forget that all the time. You go on an elevator. What do you do on a normal elevator, right? You get on there, you press your button, you look forward. You have a plan, right? You're thinking about what floor you're getting off at. No, in Buffalo, you talk to whoever's near you. You talk to anybody wherever you are. And I forget that when I go back into town and I'm on an elevator, and I remember getting off of it, and this grandmother had her little girl, her little tiny granddaughter near her, and all I heard her say, maybe she just had a headache or something. That's why she didn't want to talk to us. So it's a totally different world from here. Things I like. I like strawberries. I love chocolate. I shouldn't love chocolate. I love chocolate. How about French bread? Crusty French bread? Little bit of cheese. Texas men. Back there. That's my guy. Tall and skinny. What can I say? That's how we like them. I like crisp sheets and fluffy blankets. I like pets. I would have said I love pets. I really would have. I had cats galore, I had dogs, but I have a beagle. So now that changes to, gosh, there are times I like pets, but there's other times where that 12-year-old beagle really gets me. My favorite thing is that we like to entertain outside. And if you entertain outside, and if you've ever been near a beagle, all they love to do is sniff and dig. What else do you think? Well, everybody's saying poop. Yes, the beagle poops. No, we're not stepping on beagle poop. But they eat everything. They're all about their nose. Like if you walk a normal dog, they walk like a normal dog. Beagles don't. Beagles sniff, and then they sniff some more, and they beg. They'll do anything for that scrap of food. When he was a little tiny beagle baby, a little tiny pup, he would run upstairs, knock over the gate, figure out how to open that up so he can get upstairs into the laundry room and scurry through the laundry that hasn't been washed yet and find the smelliest thing. Could it be an old sock that needs to be washed? Or maybe my husband's underwear? And scurry down the stairs, plop it right on top of my friend's Prada shoe in exchange for a cracker, he thought. I don't know. So that same beagle is an eater of much cheese and much bread, or the famous pizza. He's 12 years old now, so we beg people, please, don't feed the dog. Don't feed the dog. And what do they do in these outdoor parties? Right. And so I look over at my beagle, who can't even roll over for the trick to get another treat because he's so full. And I look at the group and I said, okay, who did it? Who gave him a piece? Everybody's hand shot up. There were 20 pieces of pizza within that dog that night. And I gotta tell you, out of the things I like, it went to the things I don't like. A dog filled with cheese needs nothing but several open windows at night. That's all I can say about that. I'm going to give you one quick poem that I have to read because I just really enjoyed this one, and it's actually by my son. Clint the Old Rabbit. And probably because I love children's theater so much, so it reminds me of it, but it tells a story, and we read it at a poignant time at a gathering over a passing of someone. So I think it fits in a poetry meeting. Clint the Old Rabbit. Old Clint the rabbit sleeps on a hillside, his mind adrift, his body still. From time to time, one can see the blink of an eye or the twitch of a tail. He moves his head to the left and then the right. Colors fill old Clint's head, blue, green, and orange too. He becomes lost in a place within his mind. Winds roar by and tickle Clint. He moves but a twitch and a sniff. The morning falls and the sky turns black. It rains, it pours, and old Clint doesn't make a sound. Not one sound but a tap. He runs away from a two-legged monster with a stick and a sack and very large feet. The old rabbit is trapped, nowhere to go but a never-ending pit, a hole. Clint jumps with all his might, not having a chance to think twice. He falls fast to the light and is awakened with a little fright. He awakens to a hill with grass. Morning dew covers his fur, but Clint doesn't mind that. A day went by, a few if that, but old Clint the rabbit never knew that. He never knew it was just a dream, just a thought, a trick. The old rabbit takes a breath and disappears over the mountains, through the valley, and into the sunset. And that's where I'm going. Thank you for my 5 minutes.
I think I'm going to cry. That was beautiful. That was Ginny Pados. Thank you, Ginny. Next up, we have someone I think is going to be a future ringer here. Maxwell Beutnagel is a senior at Mendham High School, where he's been voted the best poet for the last couple of years. He's been published in the Visions anthology. He plays the guitar, writes songs, acts in films, and he has a photo exhibit at a gallery right now in Mendham. What he really wants you to know is that he comes from Mendham, he ran away from home 8 times, and was brought back 7. Maxwell.
The first poem I'm going to be reading, I don't have a title for it yet. If you guys have any ideas, I'd really like to hear them. Yonder danceth the haunted torn misty mountains within the cold howling breath of the north, which brings forth the wind's relentless crying hymns, thus provoking the eternal fall of the bloody tears from the saddened rains. Oh, the old wise crossbills serenade the withering hearts of the mournful dying pines as they wearily sway from side to side, to the fair ocean's saintly crashing. Let us waltz then through the golden hills of dancing grain and galliard within the battered, ardent ruins of time, to the drunken, merciless laughter of the misguided kings and queens. But do not fear, beloved friend, for one day they shall lay before the thundering, killing lines of war, thus realizing they are a false breed. Oh, upon the great hills rideth the prophet of the West, crying to the marrow of the old tattooed, sleeping skies, forgive me of my blindness, dearest brother, for now I wish to see. Oh, promise me, thou guardian angel, to protect my relation's blood from rusting beneath the layers of forgotten time, well beneath the bloody ash of war, or from drowning within the deathly grasp of the haunted yet romantic tides, from the howling winds of the northern skies. There once lived a lonely, starving orphan who toiled his life away, for now his brittle, weeping soul resides within a torn, hollow hill somewhere. Oh, the well-worn soldier child shalt be first to charge the thundering lines, to show those tearful cowards that fear is but a lie. Oh, thine unborn face is ever branded within my mind's eye. How I long to tell thee, unborn son, daughter from the skies, how much I love thee. When thou shalt stand, gaze upon the dying days, remember I did once as well. O sweet child who hails from the angel's garden, do not waste thine sacred time searching the nighttime skyline borderline for me. For when thou shalt stand upon my haunted buried footprints, I shall thus see through the eyes of thee, and thou shalt see what I had once seen. O far beyond the chapters of time, when thou shalt rest within the great grassy fields yonder, and close thine olden gray hollow eyes, I will greet thy newborn face at the beginning. Okay, that's it. This one is called Song for the Midnight. Let us sail upon the cold foreign winds to the top of the great mountain's end, to thus rest our weary bodies beneath the stars' staring eyes. O beautiful lover, let us spar within the midnight hours, and gaze at our naked shadows dance within the night, to feel the winds graze our bodies and turn us into dust of the night. Just 1 second. I want to see if this is written correctly. I think there's a couple errors. Okay. This is called okay. Well, I don't really have a name for it. I was just going to make one up. Sorry. The misguided prophet and the false politician wallow endlessly amongst the golden fields of burning dreams, to drink their plundered wine with the disowned angels, to hence mask their over many sorrows and unkept words and temporary tranquility before the great night's end. As the western winds bring forth the imperative prayers of the dying peasants who fight the war of great destitution and reach the ears of those whom fail to heed their howling words of urgency. I'll just read one more. That was... Okay. Well, this one is sort of like the same as the last one. I actually read the wrong one. That was the... Okay. This one's called To My Friends Who Hail from Many Years Hence. Within the darkest depths of the forest old, Brother Athelai waits within the deathly cold, where the great horned owl of the west sings his foreign songs, as the sad and disowned angels bathe themselves within the streams of holy blood. O thou torn, battered friends of the north, please heed the call of the retrieved, haunted words of the phantom song. Before thine great beginning, I had vowed never to lose thee. Beneath the layers of forgotten time were the bloody ash of war. Within the deathly grasp of haunted killing tides are the howling winds of the northern skies. for I am thy friend. I am thine faithful guardian, for I am thy friend. And, that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maxwell, Beutnagel. I'm glad that they brought you back to Mendham. Okay, next up, this is a very eclectic roster we have here. We've already had someone that's fluent in Klingon, and now we're going to hear someone who's fluent in Old English. And we might even hear a little bit of Old Norse, Latin, and Middle High German if we're lucky. Johanna Rodda is a graduate of Harvard, and she's now pursuing her PhD at the University of Toronto in English, American language, and literature. She's going to read a little bit from Beowulf, only the first 3,000 lines. Please, Johanna.
Hello, thank you. As Kevin said, I will be reciting the prologue to Beowulf in Old English. It's about 50 lines long. I know that probably none of you are acquainted with Old English, but if you are, I hope you can pick up a few words, or even if you're not versed in Old English, that you can pick up a few words in the recitation. As you probably remember from high school or college English courses, Beowulf is a poem about danger and a hero and monsters, and so that's where the real character comes. But in this prologue, it deals with the founding of the Danish nation by Skjold, who is this mythical figure that comes forth and leads the Danes to great success. And then, of course, the monsters come in to spoil the party a little bit later in the poem. So I'll be reciting about the first 50 or so lines of it. Chwat, we gardena in Yerdagum, theod kuning a thrum jefrunan, hutha athelingus ellen fremedon. Of Skjold sheth an a threatum, maniga magthum, mere setla of teach, egsod erlas stun erstworth fair chef funden. Heithas profri abad, wax under woknum, worth mundum thaw of the timai wilch there sitendra over hronada her in Skjolden, gomban yilden. That was god kuning. Them efra was after Kenned, young in Yerdum, thon a god sende fokato frofra. Fyren therefore anyed, that he drugan alderleis the langa huile. Him tes lifrea, Wolders weldend, worldara for Yeaf. Beowulf was brema, lad weede sprang, shieldus efra shadelan dumin. Swat shall youngum magodi urchan, from feo yefteman fader berma, that hina an ilde efti wunian will yesitas, thon a wigkuma, leode yelastan. Lof dadim shall in magtha uera man yethean. Him tha shield wat to yeshapwila, felafror feran an freyan wera. He hinatha atbarum to brimus ferada, swazi yesita swa hiselfabad, then in word and wales winna shieldinga, lay of land fruma langa achta. There to the stod ringed stefna, easy gonutfus, athelingus fair. A laden tha lay of natheadin, bega britain and barm shippas, merne be masta. There was mad mafela of fairweg and fratum yeladid. Ne heard ich kumlikur chol ye year one, Hildewapnum and Hathelwadum, Willem and Bernam. Him and Bermale, mad memanigo, tha him mid shoulden and flodus act fair ye weetan. Na lasi hina lassen nakam teodin, theodiustranum, than tha duden the hina at frum shaft the fourth unsenden, Anna over ude umbor wessende. Tha yet hier him is set on sean yildena, hair over hairford, let an home baron. Him was the ombersefa, murnin de mode. Men de kunan sejanto sotha, celerad de haleth under hefenum, hua them lasta unfang. And before retreating from the stage here, I would like to just recite one poem that I did write back in college, and it was largely inspired by the Song of Songs and also the myth of the Fisher King, or the wasteland thematic. My love is the best of 10,000 men. The world has grown harsh about me, here and again. The sun god, following my mind, has departed from the sky, and words nor thought can any longer call him back until the day I die. How can I? Must I be quite ashamed if, perhaps, I cannot foretell? How much the better I may love him well? My mind grows open to the world of our birth. It is tied to the spring, and spring retreats from the earth. And soon the summer days will be departed, as seems neither possible nor true. We looked into the sky, and saw the means by which we will be saved. He shall leave the tracks of himself written on the sand. He shall rise again in the spring. We will wait through the fall. We will wait through the winter. When the spring comes, we will harvest the fruit that through the winter has been our dreamed-of pursuit, hibernating in patient thought, till, springing suddenly from the sheafs of stalks, shall leap the life god again, bringing with him a halo of rain to sprinkle over the barren earth. See now what love has wrought. This is what my true love with his blood has bought. If I had 1,000 years, I could not tell you all the features of my love. He is ruddy, white and red, swift as a hart in the hills, terrible as a king on his throne, tender as a child born in mother's arms. If we had 1,000 years, I could not tell you half the features of my love. In the garden, spring has come again. My mind is closed to the world, but open to him. I need no longer call until he comes. We are together until we die. The sun has broken from my mind and sits once more in the sky. The world has returned to itself once again. My love is the best out of 10,000 men. Thank you.
That was Johanna Rodda. One of the rules here was that you have to keep it clean. I have no idea. Was that clean, that Beowulf? Nothing naughty in there. Okay, so we can show it on the internet. I'm very pleased now to invite another wordplay veteran up to our podium. Margaret Noonan is an educator and an actress. She starred in Good for the Earth, which was the winner of our film festival a couple of years ago. More recently, she has appeared in the indie film Rebirth, which was shown at the Soho and Big Apple film festivals. She's here tonight to read some poems by her late brother, which will be published soon in a collection called Speedwell Poems. Please welcome Margaret Noonan.
Thank you, Kevin. Can you hear me? Yeah. I will read 3 poems today. The first is titled Heaven Fried. Saturday night, folding Sunday's blues, the kids are on the corner, drinking Cokes, learning how to smoke cigarettes, wearing high school jackets with their names over their hearts. Kathy, Angel, Marie, Michael, Raphael. They're talking in the snow. Peeling off parables, paint on the wall, Shakespeare's 'neath the marquee. Beggars walk by, noble in winter light, sacred, cowering in the cold, he's talking to himself. In drag, the night sweats it out on side streets, 3 o'clock footstep shadow, mascara doorways, quick heat, dollar, little bars where the fallen angels hang. The music soothes the pain, they're trying to get up enough money to eat, maybe get a place in Jersey. Vicarious John says he's had enough. He's going to join the circus, be a snake charmer, a lion tamer, the master of ceremonies, wear a tuxedo, follow the circuit south, and try and shake whatever's eating him. New Orleans, fish and beans, over easy please, because tonight the streets are bleeding, and I know there's a heaven because I've seen it. They've got flat half pints sitting on the windowsill with that soft rum light just a whispering through. Black and white TV set on the coffee table, tin beer cans with olive oil labels. And I know there's a heaven because I've seen it. There's a woman wrapped in blankets out at Pennsylvania Station. Here, let me give you some change, a couple of tokens. You get underground before the night closes in. You stay up here, you'll surely be frozen. I know there's a heaven because I've seen it. It's not just for the chosen few choose to view the mayhem from eye level. People hurting themselves so hard they got the bone man jumping for extra accommodations. It's not a pretty something you want to see, but it's everyday, street common, sidewalk, subway, magazine, matinee, Mayday. This is called The Mighty Hudson. Sweet Lolita with the shoe-shine toes asked me what the skinny was. I told her I don't know. She told me I should try and quit smoking cigarettes. I said, first I gotta quit talking to myself. We live in New York City where the summer can be troubling. It's a hustle and a bustle, but I don't mind the scuffling. I just wish I could take a swim in the Hudson. Old Ragged Davy, he's a longshoreman. He makes it down to the docks whenever he can. We sit up on the pilings and talk. He tells me of his days out on the ocean, shuffling freight from coast to coast. He's gone from riches to rags, but he ain't whining. There's only one thing that bothers him. He can't eat the fish he catches in the Hudson. Fingers quick and calloused, 30 years in the garment district, turning cotton into dollars she'll never see. Violet's ankles get real stiff, but arthritis is for the rich. She takes good care, watches out for the family. Some nights goes down to the river at the end of a long day, and she just won't try, doesn't want to understand why. She can't soak her feet in the Hudson. Yeah, old Henry said he'd never seen anything like it, as blue and green as the Garden of Eden. If you really want something to think about, take a drink of it. Sweet Lolita with the shoe-shine toes asked me what the skinny was. I told her I didn't know. Thank you very much. This last poem is called In the Street with Your Drum. In the street with your drum, it all happens at once. As you step from the curb, taxis spin through puddles lit with sunlight brick. Fire escape guitars, they strum, and there you are, in the street with your drum. In the street with your drum, it all happens at once. The city she cradles, her lost and her found, buries their past's bones in the ground. Among the carnival millions, you are but one, there in the street with your drum. Sidewalk in the sun, pork pie and overcoat, old fellas having a smoke, windows need washing, winter's just over, get out the newspapers and the ammonia. Traffic rocks by, heading north, and there you be. River deep in your thoughts, in your boots with your hopes and your hobo heart, with the dues that you've paid and keep paying, with your ragtag dreams on the run. There in the street, fire escape guitars they strum. There in the street, in the holy street, in the street with your drum. In the street with your drum, it all happens at once. Thank you.
Margaret Noonan. Margaret, when does that book come out, Speedwell Poems?
Keeping my fingers crossed. I'm hoping in the next couple of months.
And
I'll let you know.
And it's John Noonan, your brother, right?
John Noonan.
Okay. Great, thanks. Our next quotable quote here. We feel the same emotions for our ideas as we do for the real world, which is why we can cry while reading a book or fall in love with movie stars. Next up, we have Barbara Conte. And Barbara happens to be the daughter-in-law of Ray Pasacantando, who read for us so nicely before. And we're going to hear two poems Barbara's going to read from her mother's book called Manhattan Moments. Please welcome Barbara Conte.
Hi. I'm Barbara Casey Conte Pasacantando. And I'm going to read three poems, three, not two, from my mom's book, Manhattan Moments. And I have her picture here. And I'm sure Ray's mom was really amazing, but my mom was the best. I need the glasses. I lost my place. Hold on. Where'd it go? Here. My mom was a native New Yorker, born and raised in Manhattan, lived in Manhattan her entire life, and she was really an amazing woman, and I miss her terribly. Once upon a Valentine, I have known tenements and Chinese apples, and brownstones all in a row, backyards where alley trees and lilacs grow, and yes, a cherry tree. I have known dances on a roof on warm June evenings, and first kisses from lips as soft as raspberries, moist kisses, luscious kisses, more kisses, kisses that made nectar flow, and I once knew a boy from 10th Street. Okay, next. This poem is Typecast. Act 1. Some people appear to be mannequins, supercilious, false eyelashes, lacquered nails and lacquered hair, and saccharine smiles that beguile and go nowhere. The plastic factory fakers. Act 2. Others are manipulators. They arrive upon the stage of life skillful with strings and paper bags full of tricks and schemes and things. The papier-mâché takers. Act 3. Still others are passive, cool, silent, sneaky snakes in the grasses. The passive aggressors. The underestimated troublemakers. Bang, bang, you're all dead. Enter the undertakers. Okay, and this last poem is a poem that my mom wrote when her mother passed away. And it's very difficult to read, but I'm going to try. It's called Rest in Peace, R.I.P. Close down the dark house. Once upon a time it was bright and had a sense of humor. Board up the windows. The sun fails to smile on their panes. Shut the kitchen. Tins of tea, oatmeal, sugar, and cloves stand still. The tea kettle no longer whistles. Lock the doors. People won't come calling anymore. Mama is dead.
Thank you, Barbara. That was really, really lovely. Quick shout out. I'd also like to give a big thanks to our photographer, Paul Hausman. He's a wonderful photographer. Thank you very much, Paul. I don't see Paul Rabinowitz here. Is Paul here? I guess Paul couldn't make it tonight. Paul couldn't make it tonight. So, Carl, did you bang out something for us during the intermission? Oh, no. Okay, well, excuse me. So our next poet is not only a woman of the cloth, but she's also a woman of the canvas. Melissa Hall touched off a bidding war for her artwork last Friday. It really got kind of hairy in here for a while. She's an advocate for social justice and equal rights, a devoted mom, the assistant rector here at St. Peter's, and an enormous reason for the success of this art show here. Please welcome Melissa Hall.
I said canvas, I thought wrestling. I was like, wow. I know, really. Two poems. One was at a party, a very, very fancy party with lots of extremely successful, very wealthy artists. I felt uncomfortable. I felt out of my element. And there was a man who came in the door, a very, very famous artist. I won't tell you who he was. but the most arrogant human being on 2 feet I've ever met in my life. Really, it was awful. And he had this wife who was kind of behind him, and he was quite full of himself. And but at one point during the night, she picked up a violin, and oh my God! And here's what happened. The poem was called Misrepresentation. She cheated on him with her violin. Her wrists were Titans, manacled in muscle, saved since childhood. She lifted the wood to her chin and ate it all. Duplicitous moon, a spy, brought the evidence in daguerreotype shadows on polished floors to her coelacanth man, the club-footed fish, disoriented by neural misfires and habitually marooned on land. Thinking he was directing, kept her rhythm with his stick across her back, but it was she who was leading him on, shaking her head of silver-haired strings that cable-knotted about his heart, then slowly tensed. Emptying the sack of siren, sea girls captured their vowels of surprise, a rainforest mist in his imagination. And with a carpenter's pencil that was tucked behind the pink tin of his ear, he wrote large, desperate words to impress her, authored across smoky landscapes, painted only at night when the light was at its best. She told him she loved his paintings and was intrigued by his guttural vocabulary. But the whole time he could see the lie. Her hands were magical creatures moving beneath the tablecloth on the bridge of her thighs. A Morse code seduction delivered to her lover. Meet me in the garden tonight at midnight. Tell no one. We'll play together once he's asleep. Yeah, thank you. The next poem is called Special Guest Star. I had a mother who tried hard, but she wasn't the best mother. So I learned from that, and I always wanted to be the best mother. Well, that's a faulty thing, isn't it? We try. But one night I was washing the dishes and I had the radio going, and I heard on the radio that Mars was the closest it would ever be to the Earth. So this is what happened. The red planet was there, somewhere. So we drove slowly through the parking lot at the high school, trying to remember where North lay. Yeah, really. Quieting ourselves, the magnetic pole turned us like quicksilver, and by deduction, southeast was made. The night was always dark and potential, coaxed me to hide, too terrified to get out of the car. But it would be 300 years before it would kiss us again. So I carried her coiled about my body, excited to see Mars. 6 with toes dipped in 7, she thought me invincible. A safe haven in all weather. So I scripted myself as a hero, without anxious clothes or deciduous teeth and dreams. Looking over the hips of silhouette trees, I wished for its banished eye to peer over us. Middle-aged crone category. Counting the rings of my decades, I wanted to make a memory for my daughter. Begging a peek into the void, punctuated by sequence of light, trembling and heated pulse, light years, song, an echo of itself long gone. It was she who found the gypsy on its rounds, color of blood wash, a spotting before pregnancy. There, Mommy, I see it. And I did too. A planetary period at the end of a 60,000-year migration that had come close to skinning its knees on our home. Perhaps too curious. about what had happened to turn a modest rock to such blue. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. And her artwork is here for sale too. Okay, we're in the home stretch now. I'd like to introduce this is probably our penultimate poet, Debby Forte. Am I pronouncing that correctly, Debbie? Has been doing creative writing since childhood, and recently she was published in Goldfinch, the River Poets Journal, and the WordPlay. She also co-chaired the very first Morning Muses Women's Arts Festival in Parsippany, and last summer she appeared at Cafe Improv. Please welcome Debby Forte.
This first poem is called The Prize, and it's written from a cat's viewpoint. Morning called at our window, I flicked my ears at world below. In the yard behind the shed is where my quarry makes his bed. While my dearest was asleep, through the drapes I braced and leaped. Hearing rustle in the leaves, felt a tensing in my knees, slunk down in my stalker stance, tail assumed a cobra's dance. I pounced upon the twitching fear, a pigeon holed up in its lair. My tasty toy on tiny feet sang out the squeak of its defeat. With lion's pride and mouth filled with mouse, returned a hero to her house, and flaunting legacy of skill, jumped back upon our windowsill. Then ever gently dropped my prize on her pillow next to her eyes. Then curled up to contently dream till awakened by her grateful scream. This next poem is called Earth Mother, and it's a Mother's Day poem. The veil of your song is drawn by breath of longing, bitter swell of memory still warm upon my cheek. As returning birds of spring, sun-drenched in giddy promise, will perch again in snow of dogwood blossoms and sing in fearless pitch of a life unspent. The shroud of childhood lifts to first moments of you, unlined face that soothed, unbroken voice that cooed, in snug tightness of beginnings before unfurling endings. Under constellation Cancer's feathery wing of stars, you bloomed me with the things you loved: history, comedy, tragedy, poetry, an earthling mother who still clings. This next poem is about Marilyn Monroe, and it's called The Light of Norma Jean. Where were you in '62? Angels gathered impromptu. Marilyn made her debut on a stage in life's review. Back to dreams of chivalry, princess blooming in the weeds, a rootless flower plucked to please the endless petals in a stream. To a time when geisha girl grew into a social stir, traded Norma for a whirl in diamond bobs, blowing skirt. From gesture to a witty queen who ruled with flair for comedy and manic sensitivity deeper than the deepest sea. To a working woman steeped in books, cramming for a lover's look, vowed her soul to faithless rook, who gave much less than he took, and saw ahead the karmic toll, beating hearts less than whole, of deja vu on grassy knoll, blood red as the clippers rose. Then angels chimed in harmony. Marilyn was just a dream. We love the light of Norma Jean, an echo through eternity. I just have a couple more, I don't know. Okay. This next one is called Jetstar Anthem. It's about the roller coaster on the boardwalk in Seaside Heights that was blown into the ocean by Superstorm Sandy. Jet Star Anthem. A roller coaster ride, pummeled by tide, stripped from a land, swallowed in sand. We wipe our eyes in disbelief at jumbled metal carcass reef, October's cursed mission looming into vision. No more the bluff, morning light might snuff, ending rain could cease, this was not a dream. Just as Hurricane Katrina blew into New Orleans, a mind can't truly fathom realness of a havoc, until onslaught released by broken barriers of sea, rising gale of salty foam pours its dank upon the walls. A broken hulk that's moored on silty sunken floor, no seaside heights before, Snooky and the Jersey Shore. Halloween brought early snow, this our second in a row, but this year ghosts of misery pounded streets and poverty. Searching for that Sandy girl in Bruce's tender torch song verse, pining for a fading life, carnival aurora skies. Bruce's Jersey accolades, an anthem to the glory days before our glories turned to years, dampened by a torrent's tears. And, okay, this one is about Napoleon, and it's called Napoleon from the Grave. It's actually his voice speaking before he was moved to France. Geranium Valley, kissed by sun, peaceful brook plays a minuet of sojourn song. My eternal moment of delay, I heard your sad call, sailing up the coast, no stranger to my life. Boyhood dreams on Corsica, my first exile. Now willows bend to pray, made prisoner with me behind steel fence. O earth of mine, sweet earth, you do not decay. I loved a people and they were lost to so many sunsets, and me to them by wave of destiny. So far away, but not that long ago, I speak of them still, trees of my being, you know more and do not judge. Your long feathery fronds drop down to remember me, shade my tomb beneath this rock. I tasted existence and leave my life to trees. They talk to me on endless breeze, and I hear. I just have one more. I don't know if I have enough time or not. I'm pushing it. Okay, that's good. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. That was really nice. And is Drew in the audience? Drew? Okay, I guess Drew didn't make it. So, to wrap it up, and one last reminder that these vases are for sale to help fund the Spring Arts Festival. I think they're $10, so afterwards, see us if you'd like to take one of them home. Our final reader tonight, Carol Lindskog. You have to stay on Carol's good side because she works in the tax office. Actually, Carol only has a good side. Just look around you at the art here. She did a wonderful job of hanging all this art, and she's also a very entertaining speaker. So please welcome Carol Lindskog.
I'm not going as left of center as I was last year. First, just a little story in object interpretation. The spring of 2000, which is a few years ago, I participated in a modern dance class in Mendham, taught by Kathy Del Guercio as part of her fulfillment for her master's at Columbia. The class was a stretch for me, but one of my best friends was her mother, Dorothy Del Guercio, who owns the dance school there. And my training was strictly classical of 9 years in my youth. However, we persevered and actually learned a lot, even though we had to be split up in the class for behavioral reasons. The ages of the class were from senior high to the two of us, the 60-year-olds. Anyway, we were divided into 4 groups of 4 or 5. Kathy had us each reach into a paper bag to retrieve an object, which we were then to use ultimately to develop a dance. My item was a seashell, the kind that looks like the large clam shells. I might add that Dorothy retrieved a rock, to which she said to me, "What the heck am I to do with this?" I said, "Good luck," and so then we were put in different groups. Our first assignment was to write an object interpretation about our item, each one of us. Next was to draw a picture of this interpretation, and then on to the meat of the class, preparing movement to show the interpretation. Okay, I've got this shell. Okay. Each of us shared those foregoing requirements to our group members. And when all the group members had shared their interpretations, we put them together into one dance using the movements from each one. Ultimately, all 4 groups merged their dances into one final dance, which we then performed in Central Park. I know. On a Sunday afternoon in April, to a lot of tourists and residents and hippies and the like, some of which actually joined with us. It was great fun, and as I say, a very, very interesting learning experience, which I do not plan on doing again. Anyway, my object being the seashell and my object interpretation. As I walk along the beach at the water's edge, I note that the waves never come up on the sandy beach at the same intensity. Every wave is different, and therefore the imprint it leaves on the sand is different. The shell's surface is a mirror of those waves and their variations. But because the shell is not liquid, its form remains. Unlike my footprints in the sand, they are there, then gone. And then just 3 short poems. September 2005, my then 8-year-old granddaughter, Amy St. Martin, in Colorado, had an assignment in her third grade class, and I'm sure it was one that was probably, it was the first, second week of school. It's one of those fillers for the, lesson plan thing. They were to write poems about emotions, telling what the emotion feels like, tastes like, looks like, sounds like, and what color it is. These are Amy's poems. Mad. Mad feels like a porcupine's quill going right into your hand. Man tastes like a burnt piece of meat. Mad looks like bruises. Mad is the color black. I do not know if the school psychologists ever saw these. Whoa. Sad feels like your heart is breaking in half. Sad tastes like ice cream. Sad looks like a puddle of tears. Sad is the color blue. And then last is love. Love feels like butterflies fluttering in your stomach. Love tastes like fresh baked cookies. Love looks like roses. Love sounds like music. Love is the color red. From an 8-year-old. She is a very, very interesting young woman and a very good writer. She loves English and she loves all her AP classes that she's now a junior in high school. So, thank you.
Thank you, Carol Lindskog. I'd like to leave you with this and tell me at the end if you know who wrote it. I believe that if, at the end of it all, according to our abilities, we have done something to make others a little happier and something to make ourselves a little happier, that's about the best we can do. To make others less happy is a crime. To make ourselves unhappy is where all crime starts. We must try to contribute joy to the world. That is true no matter what our problems, our health, our circumstances. We must try.
Don't call the wrong person.
I wish. All of tonight's statements were written by the late great film critic Roger Ebert. 2 thumbs up, Roger. For WordCountry.com, I'm Kevin Coughlin. Thank you all for coming. See you next week.
Morristown.